This is it. Hi.
Hi.
So we are here today to launch into this amazing experience of bringing to life the halfbetty podcast. This is our very first episode. There's been so much that has gone into this moment. And for me, it's a wild experience, but I am so thrilled to be sitting here with all of you and you. But what you're going to notice is that I'm also probably a little bit nervous, and that's okay because nerves are good. They serve us. My name is Andrea Rathborne, and I am the founder and I am the host of your halfbetty podcast. The story of halfbetty, we're going to share a little bit more about that, but it's really not about me, or even in so many ways, it's not about the name of the podcast. It is about all of you. So halfbetty describes a community. It describes a place where women in their midlives can come together and create a connection, a place where they know that they are amongst others that are in the exact same place in their life. And it was born of this moment for me, also now in my midlife, where I recognized how many women in this time of our lives experience some of the largest catalysts, challenges, moments of self-awareness, experiences that they've never had before, so first times. It's a beautiful, in so many ways, coming of age, but in your midlife. Not a coming of age when you're a teenager, which is what we most often associate coming of age with. There is beauty in those youthful years, of course, but there's beauty in the midlife. And I don't know that it feels like that really has ever had its place. And I don't know that women have a place where they feel like it's a coming of age for them. And it really, truly is. So this podcast, this space, this community is going to be for all of the women who are moving through that midlife time, launching into their second scene. It's a new opportunity to craft a narrative for what is ahead with excitement and with passion and with all of our own self-awareness, all the things we've done that we've now taken from and planted inside and now can use as part of our strength as we move forward. This is a conversation. This is not I'm talking at you, we're talking to you. We are in this together. We are in a conversation. And I cannot wait to hear from every single one of our halfbetties out there. And today, we're going to start it off by talking to a dear friend and a person that came into my life fairly recently. And we're going to introduce Krista Gruen. Krista is an amazing wrangler of stories. And that's what Krista's really amazing at, but that doesn't even touch on it because as a person who is also in her midlife, she is navigating all the things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get her to talk about it a little bit more. So with that, I'd really love to introduce my friend, producer for halfbetty, a partner in this work that we're doing together, Krista Gruen.
Wow. Thank you, Andrea. I am also so thrilled to be here with you and our halfbetty community. And they don't even know it's about to happen. We don't even know it's about to happen, but I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and all of our halfbetties out there. I think it's important to take this opportunity to turn it back to you and share with us how halfbetty came to be. It's such an interesting name, and there's a story behind that. As you said, I'm a storyteller, and I want to hear all the stories, and I love hearing the beginnings. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, 2022, January 17th, was a big day for me. It was my 50th birthday. So in a world that was still navigating the throes of what we all know happened, and that is a global pandemic, I was hit all at once with what was going on in the world around us, but also this really monumental time, this age that all of a sudden that felt so strange and odd to say. It almost didn't even want to come out of my mouth because it just felt so uncomfortable. I thought about that for a while. Why was it uncomfortable? And I think it's because there was a sense that there was a narrative in society around what 50 means, particularly for women. And I thought, gosh, it's wild to be 50, but I want to really think about how it could be not what society says it is, but something a little different. And I think maybe that's this little baby rebel that's inside of me that comes out every once in a while. And so fast forward about a week, and I was taken to Whistler by my family, my husband, and the rest of my closest of friend group, who are really those friends that you choose as your family, all arrived to throw a full celebration for my birthday. And what started to unfold was picked up on by what I had shared with this group of friends around my actual birth date and the woman that I share that birth date with, who also happens to be somebody that all my life I have really cherished for who she is, and that is Betty White. Betty White and I share the same birth date, but when Betty would have turned 100, I was turning 50, half Betty's age. As I started to really think about Betty and our shared birthdays, what I came to recognize is that Betty did more in her life from 50 to 100 than even what she did between when she was born and 50. And all of a sudden, I was even more inspired by the idea that 50 marks a beginning. And Betty White is somebody who really showed the world that that's the case. So now, as we're at this place in Whistler and all the friends are there, everything now was themed to Half Betty. I was served a Half Betty cocktail. We had a Half Betty show. There was a Half Betty dinner menu that was set. And so really, that was the beginning of what, for me, felt like this seed of this needs to be more than for me. This needs to be for all of us, all women who are in this place. And it doesn't have to be 50, but it does resonate with women who are in that midlife. So the age is not critical. It's more that in that time, there are shared experiences that women out there will all recognize in one another. But yet there's not this place where women are talking about those things, where women can come to and they can say, oh my gosh, that happens to me all the time. What do you do about that? How did you find something that was working for your hormonal imbalances, or the fact that you can't remember a word when you're trying to speak, or, the fact that your children are leaving home after 21 years and all of a sudden it's about you again and you don't know who you are. And changes in your career, or aging parents, or loss of family and parents. And the list goes on, so I really believe that that was part of this origin story of the name for what this is, the name of this community. And if we fast forward now 2 years from there, this year, 2024, I was on the edge of recognizing that my own 2 daughters would be leaving home. Makes me emotional.
Yeah, that's okay.
So in January of this year, knowing that they would be leaving, I knew that I needed to start thinking about what I would be putting myself into. What would I be nurturing now? And as things sometimes work out when we are open to it and when we are there kind of present, LinkedIn, I'm going to do a shout out for LinkedIn. LinkedIn served up.
Maybe they'll be a sponsor.
LinkedIn served up a contest by a local podcast audio company called Jar Audio. This contest was positioned on my computer screen as contest for getting women into podcasting. And so I thought to myself, gosh, I have a little tiny idea. It's already got a name. It's called halfbetty. I don't really know how to do this. I have no idea how to create a pitch for this, but I'm going to just write. And I sent that pitch in and then I forgot about it because I think I was a little bit scared that it wasn't going to be good enough. It wasn't going to work. Who was I kidding? I've never done a podcast. I don't know how to do this. So I put it out of my mind and I concentrated on the last number of months with my girls at home. And about 3 months after I had sent in that pitch that I intentionally forgot about, I got an email. I will never forget the opening line because it said, cue the applause and tears. And I thought, what is going on? And then it said, halfbetty has won the Jar Audio Women in Podcasting contest. And I immediately kind of closed my computer, a bit nervous and scared, and all of a sudden feeling like I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. And then I reopened it and reread it because I wasn't quite sure it was real. I asked AI, I was like, ChatGPT, how do you do a podcast? I did all the things. And then I thought, gosh, you're being ridiculous. You can do this because you've already done it. You've already highlighted what it is that you want to do. And all it is about talking to women and hearing their stories and pulling them together and creating a space for a community and for us to highlight these stories to the world. I can do this.
That is so beautiful. And you told that story so well. And I remember when you got that email, I was sitting beside you and you said, Krista, I have this email. They need some more information from me. And I'm like, that's really good. Wait, what? Who is this? Back up. And you told me what you had done. And I was instantly attracted to the idea and the story and launching into helping you in whatever way I could.
And for that, I'm so grateful because as we're talking about, this time of life is so fraught with so much that is out of my control. So I'm so grateful for that anchor. I'm grateful for your words of, encouragement and pride in what I have done. And I really do appreciate that. So thank you.
Okay. So where do we go from here?
That's such a fun question. Where we would like to go from here is to really now turn this into learning more about you and your story. And not just your story, but, who Krista is and your unique story. I think that's what's important is that while we all can find shared or common ground, we are still all uniquely having our own experiences. So what I'm going to ask of you, Krista, is if you can use, and you can break the rules. I already told you that I've got a baby rebel going on. So if you also have that same baby rebel, you can jump in and break the rules. But I'm going to ask you to use 5 words. So if you do 6, you're good. But I'm going to ask you to do or to share 5 words that you feel really describes who Krista is or how you show up in this world. Use 5 words to help me understand who you are.
Okay. 5 words. First one would be passionate, caring. Loving is kind of caring too, but I'm going to say that one. Helpful and creative.
Beautiful. And you did 5.
I did 5.
Maybe all 5 really can be so beautifully tied together because all of them lend themselves to what I hear is somebody who just deeply, deeply cares and shows up in the world with an energy of compassion, kindness, generosity of spirit.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because those would be very similar words that I would use to describe the Krista that I know. Can you take me back a little bit in your life story? So tell me a little bit of where you're from, and then lead us into this path of what you've been doing in your life that has lit you up and that has offered you, that space to pour your beautiful, loving, caring, creative soul into. Tell us a little bit of that story.
So I'm going to jump into when I was 19, because I feel like that was a huge pivotal moment in my life. I grew up as a dancer. And when I was 19, I went off and started working as a dancer on cruise ships. So travel was something I did very limitedly. I really didn't travel a lot. I would go camping with my family. We would, maybe go to California once in a while, but I really hadn't traveled. And I was the baby of the family. I'm the youngest of 4, and I think I was just really protected and cared for very, very well. So here I am, 19. I booked my first cruise ship. I arrived in Florida at like midnight. I had to organize myself to get on a shuttle and go from, Miami to Fort Lauderdale and arrive at this hotel and creep into this room. And I knew that I had a roommate who was like the lead singer of the show. And that's kind of how I started this like new life for myself and like really carving out this new person. I had a chance to be who I wanted to be, who I wanted to explore, had to do my laundry on my own, like all these things, and it turned out to be 7 years of working on cruise ships off and on.
Wow.
Started as a dancer. Then I was a singer dancer and got to travel the world and do what I loved to do. Somewhere in there, I got married. I was 22 when I got married the first time, and we were married for 8 years.
Yeah.
Halfway in between that marriage, he had an affair, and I didn't know how to navigate that. I stuck around. We went to counseling. We tried to figure it out. And in the end, I realized that I didn't want to stay. And I would have flashbacks to like talking to my nan, before I got married and talking to my mom. And my parents were so like worried, and they didn't want me to get married at 22. And now being 47, I'm like, oh yeah, I would have had the same conversation for sure. But like realizing that like I didn't have the tools to be in that kind of a committed relationship. We had said, we're just going to work it out. Just because we don't know anybody who's done it before doesn't mean we can't do it. But when the affair happened and we started going to counseling, quite quickly, I was like, I think we're done here. And so I moved in with my aunt and my cousin in this house, and I call it like my detox year because I really took about a year. I went traveling for the first time by myself, just me. I went to Australia and New Zealand at 30, which like everybody did when they were like fresh out of high school or maybe a year after they went to college. But no, I never went to university. I never went to college. I literally just started on cruise ships, and that was like my college years. And so I just took a year to kind of get back to me. It wasn't purposeful. Like I didn't know what I was doing at the time. It just kind of evolved. And I had a really beautiful, safe space with my aunt. And, my mom would come over from Victoria, and my sister and, my cousin was living upstairs. And it just felt so amazing to be surrounded by family. And at 30, so many things are going on. So my 20s were like party, wild, travel, fun. My 30s were a little bit more thoughtful in where I wanted to go. And I had a chance to kind of reset. And I started looking at all the things that I love to do, like singing and dancing, but I had kind of lost my passion a little bit. And what I did pick up was a passion for acting and for exploring scenes and character study. And so I got into some classes, and that was amazing. And it also really helped me with my confidence. My voice changed during that time. It went from everything was like a question, and I just came up here with every sentence that I said, and got really into my body. And I started to really understand what I wanted, what I didn't want. And then I started doing some background in film and TV. So I was a background performer. That quickly led me into being a stand-in. And so a stand-in, you're hard because you look very similar to the person, the actor that you're standing in for.
Right.
And you help the camera and lighting department and the DP come together and set up the shots that you're about to film. And so that was my job for like 7 years. I did 3 different series. I worked on a sci-fi series, and then I worked on 2 sitcoms, which are really rare in Vancouver, kid sitcoms. That was a blast. And I loved that job because I was able to kind of bring in my theater experience into the stand-in, because the stand-in actually doesn't say any lines. You just move through the motions that the actor was doing. And through that process, I realized that I wanted more and I wanted to create. And there was like ideas in my head, and being surrounded by like people of like mind. Yeah. I started to hear things. I started to get wind of projects that people were doing. And I was like, I want to do something. And so, yeah, it just kind of began. And I think the first thing I did was a play. And I quickly realized that I'm going to have to organize this. And that's kind of what I thought. It was like a manager, organizer kind of thing. Yeah. And I realized at the end of it that, I was producing that play. I was also acting in the play.
Oh, I love it.
And then it led to a web series, which was just super guerrilla, like no permits, no nothing, like really gritty, like it was something. Learned a whole bunch. And then I started creating my own work. And so I did a couple short films. I did a music video. And when I say I did, I produced. And again, I didn't wake up one morning and just say to myself, I want to be a producer. I just started doing it because I wanted to take action and I wanted to build something for me and use my creativity to help build these cool worlds. And then I ended up talking to a friend of mine who called me, and he was like, I'm looking to hire this actor, and I know you've worked with him before. Could you tell me a little bit about him? And I was like, yeah, sure. But what are you doing? And he was like, I wrote a feature, and I'm going to direct it. And yeah, I got some money, and we're going to do it. And I was like, I want to be involved in that. I'm like, a feature film? I'm like, I think I'm ready to help you. I'm like, I'll get you coffee. Like, what can I do? And he's like, no, here's what we're going to do. You're going to read the script. If it really calls to you and that's something that you're drawn to, then call me back. So I did. It was amazing. And I didn't go get him coffee. I ended up being a co-producer on the feature. And I learned so much. We shot a feature film in 12 days, which is absolute insanity. But he made it work. And he let me, at the end of the day, he made me feel so empowered and so welcomed and heard and encouraged me to keep going. And so we still have regular, maybe every quarter, we'll get together and we'll go for coffee and we'll share knowledge and share support for each other now too, which is a beautiful thing that it's turned into.
Mentorship in a way.
Yeah. And you speak about mentorship too. And it's interesting, the people that come into your life through mentorship, men, women, older, younger, mentorship can look very different in so many different ways. It shows
absolutely.
up. But basically at the end, he's like, so did I ruin your whole experience of like making a feature film? I was like, no, I want to do this again. Definitely. And so fast forward to a friend of mine who I saw her at a party, and she tracked me down and she was like, hey, I'm doing this program and I'm writing this feature and I think you should produce it. She's like, are you back at it now? Because by then I had remarried, I had twin boys. They were about 3.5. And I was like, yeah, you know what? 2020 is going to be my year. That's going to be my year. We're going to do some really awesome things.
Amazing.
Ironically, it actually was my year. It actually propelled my confidence, my career as a producer, all the things that I wanted to do, the stories that I wanted to share. I got into a producer's lab that was 6 months long. I had a mentor. And for the first time, like a real carved out mentor that was assigned to me, not somebody who I had met or had leaned on throughout the way, specifically somebody who was assigned for me and helped me, move through the script.
Navigate,
and really try to figure out the story, the point, what are we trying to say with this film? And then as a producer, learning how to take those notes and bring them back to the writer-director, who is also the producer, and say, look, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings. Can we work together to figure out how we can change and adapt the story so we can really like make it the best it can be. And that part to me, that creative collaboration is like my jam. I love helping people. I love connecting people. I love taking this idea and slowly like evolving it into this beautiful thing where people are attracted to it. But at the same time, I didn't know, I'd never been a lead producer on a feature film before. So we had very open, honest communication. You know, it started with, look, I'm going to make some mistakes. We're going to trip and fall, but we're going to pick each other up. And we just have to be incredibly honest. And if that means taking a day to just step aside and step away, then that's okay. But what I've learned over the years and through a lot of like counseling in my early 20s is like, you've got to be honest and you've got to figure out a way to communicate that honesty. You don't have to be precious about it, but you do have to be kind and make sure that, you know, business, relationships, whatever, wherever you're moving through life, you have to be honest with people. And it saves time and energy in the end. And I think that was probably the most beautiful lesson I learned from that feature film. There was a lot of stress and a lot of late nights, but it was the most beautiful thing I've ever done. I am so proud of it. I am so looking forward to doing more. And you trusting me to come alongside of you and help grow halfbetty in our community and the women that are going to, you know, come into our world is so exciting.
I can feel your excitement, and what a powerful and honest story you've just shared. There are so many pieces that I personally feel I can relate to that. That's something that I'm familiar with. Or that moment that she just shared totally gave me goosebumps because I think that there's something in it that I feel is familiar. That to me is why, and you just said it so beautifully, we're here to pull these stories out of people and then share them so that others can feel that connection and can feel that place of being understood. And to know that their experiences, though unique, they're not alone.
That's a big thing for me. And also, like I've used the word before, wanting to feel normal.
I remember you've said that.
Yeah. Especially like, so for my second marriage, we had a hard time, you know, getting pregnant, and it was really, really challenging. And that's a whole other topic I'd love to explore with, I guess, in the future, because I didn't end up having my boys until I was 39. Right. But that urge and that need to feel normal was like really strange. Like I just felt alone. I felt like nobody else was out there that was similar to me. And I think it was because I wasn't talking to women. I wasn't being open, and I didn't feel like any other women wanted to be open with me.
Got it.
And so this platform, whatever this is going to turn into be, I'm hoping, and I know you are too, is hoping to be this like safe space for people to 100%. Really open up, and honestly, to really have these like in-depth conversations about what's happening, but then also like, what are some solutions? What are some things that we can do, or things that are working for you? Maybe we can try it. Maybe they don't work for us, but we can listen and move through them together, really as a community.
I love that. You've told your story up to almost present day, really. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you feel connected to what we're doing here, which is really honing in on that midlife time of our lives, which we fast forward to where you are now, and you're 47 years old and you've got 8-year-old twin boys, and you've wrapped this amazing feature film. And you haven't shared this, but I will, because you're so amazing. But you're now award-winning producer of a feature film.
Oh yeah, that happened.
That happened as well. Can you tell me more about how or why you feel connected to this topic of midlife?
I think that being 47, I'm just a baby in this midlife category that we're talking about. I want to learn as much as I can. And I've never wanted to learn more than I do now in this time in my life. I'm learning from my children.
Yeah.
They're teaching me a ton of things. I've been looking at my sister, and she's going through perimenopause and she's sharing these things like she's never shared before. So like, I'm thinking about that. I'm looking at my mom and I'm looking at, the ways in which she's changing and the ways in which we have this very open, honest communication going. And I'm so grateful for it. And seeing the changes that she's going through or has been through, even just hearing the story of her life and how far she's come and all the things that she's accomplished, but struggled through to get to where she is, and I'm also looking at my husband's parents and I'm looking at where they are in their lives and how their health, the current state of their health. And I'm at this point where I'm like, I'm really excited to finally like move into me. And then I'm like, her parents, like, my dad passed away when I was 22, like 4 days after my first wedding, my first marriage. And it definitely like derailed me. But at the same time, there was no one else really, like I was living at home. There was no one else really that could kind of like take care, in quotes, of my mom. And so kind of from that moment, I have felt like we had to be in it together. We had to help each other kind of navigate, the future. And, since then she's been married again and I've been married again. And, we've gone through these things and I look at her life now and I'm like, oh, what happens now with her?
Yeah.
How can I be there for her? How can I show up for her? Because she has shown up for me enormously. But also, it's a really interesting state for me right now. It's like, I want to spread my wings even further and I want to go places and I want to take my kids to Japan and like do all these things, or maybe move to Hawaii for a little bit, or, where can we go? And can we go somewhere? Can we go somewhere for like a year? But then what does that mean for our parents?
Right.
Being so far away from them.
Right. Yeah.
It's a real contrast in my feelings and my emotions of like where I move forward to now, because I'm very conscious of the things that are changing in their lives. And I don't know how to navigate that lately.
Yeah. It's interesting, if we go back to the 5 words that you shared at the very beginning, and we recognize that those are really ultimately about nurturing, caring for, and making sure that people are okay. There's a phrase that's being coined, but the sandwich generation. So we find ourselves often in the place that you've described in your story, which is you're caring for your own family and you're thinking about and making sure that your mom, your husband's parents, that they're also okay. And so ultimately you are a center of care. Fortunately, that is also what you love and what you feel that you are good at and, where your kind of strength is. Do you think also that is both the beauty of often being women and also sometimes the biggest challenge?
Oh, for sure.
Particularly in this time of our lives where we're finding ourselves between those two worlds of children and aging parents who need us.
100%.
Health is a real thing always throughout our lives, but certainly as we see folks enter into those 70s, 80s, 90s, we recognize that health is top of mind and it's something that is very real and very everyday. So you have described, and we've talked about being in the middle of that. So I think that's a really important and very real aspect of being at this age, being in this half-betty time of our lives. And I'm going to like move
P.S.
that.
I can't wait for that to like, just that everyone to like coin that phrase. Like, I'm just so excited about that.
Half-betty time of our lives. Where I would love to like pull that is if you are now picturing Krista at 75 or at 80, 85, what would that 85-year-old Krista say to you in what you're currently experiencing, where you are in your life, and what would she want you to know?
Well, first of all, I hope I'm living a fabulous, like full, awesome, vibrant life.
You're going to create that.
So I'm looking forward to that. I would tell my 47-year-old self to do that thing and stop letting fear get in the way, because it can control a lot of my decisions and it can freeze. It can really like make me just stop and not do anything because I get overwhelmed. And I think that if I could let that go, that'd be a beautiful thing. Because now I have the confidence. Remember when I was really young, my mom would be like, I wish I could give you confidence. Like, she's like, you have all the things. Like, if you just had the confidence, I can see all the things that you're capable of doing. I can see, you know, what you would become or what, you know, and she didn't want to take away from what I was doing. But like, that confidence was such a thing that you can't give that to somebody. You can't just like buy it. There's nothing you can do. You have to earn it. You have to move through it. You have to like get it. But I have the confidence now. So that's the first thing. And the fear is the next thing. So that's what I'm currently like working on right now. So hopefully by the time I'm 80, like I'll just be like climbing mountains and doing wonderful things, like literally climbing mountains. I don't even know.
I think you should climb mountains. And isn't that amazing that 85-year-old Krista would tell you that thing?
Yeah, there you go. We're going to play that back one day.
She's really clever, this 85-year-old Krista. And she's talking to another really clever 47-year-old Krista.
Thank you.
And I really believe that these conversations are just starting. So, you know, today we've had the opportunity to introduce what this is all about, what Half Betty is meant to be, how everybody's going to contribute to it, and how we're going to build it together. And you've been so generous in sharing your story.
I feel like I just touched on things, right? Like,
yeah.
There's just so much.
There's so much.
There's so much to share and to tell and to, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
You've basically been this beautiful starting place. And often what I find personally is the starting is the hardest part.
We did it. We just did it.
And it was scary, but we did it.
Yeah.
And you were here to be able to help initiate that first step. So thank you, Krista, for being here today and for being part of this wonderful journey. But thank you, all you listeners out there. If that is 5, if that is 15, if that is 120, thank every single one of you. And all I'm looking forward to now is let's get this going. Let's keep this momentum and build this community, build Half Betty, and get your stories here and, you know, shared with everybody. So we will wrap this wonderful day, this wonderful moment, and we will say thank you for joining us for this first Half Betty episode.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Half Betty. Please tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Pull them all in. We want all of the Half Bettys right by our side.
We do.
Instagram, Half Betty.
Half Betty.
Send us a DM.
Hi, I'm Andrea Rathborne, founder and host of Half Betty, a podcast that creates the space for women, their stories, legacy, and life's second scene. Good.
That's it.
We're done. Wrap.
That's